Hello and welcome to part 2. Part 2 is about the recipe. Part 1 was about cleanliness. So, turbo cider, what do you need? You need apple juice, you need sugar, you need yeast. That's pretty much it, but you need a great environment for the yeast to live in. So you may need to put a little bit of citric acid in amongst that. You may need to add some tanning to that. I can use tanning in the form of tea bags. That gives the cider a little bit of bite. Other extras, you can put honey in there, you can put different types of sugar in there, as I'm going to do. I'm going to use normal granulated white sugar, but I'm going to put it in a pan with some citric acid, make it invert. If you look up candy sugar, the Belgians love to put candy sugar in their beers, gives it an extra taste. Pretty much you're making toffee. So it will be a turbo cider with a toffee ting or a tang, and I'm going to put some honey in there also. One thing that I'm not going to do is add yeast to it in the form of dry yeast. This is a packet of dry cider yeast. As you can hear, it's nice and dry, it's freeze dried, it needs activating. I could show you a video for probably about 12 years on what to do with yeasts. I'm very likely going to be showing you a video on yeasts. I have over here a bottle of Old Rosie. Old Rosie is a cider that has a sediment in the base. As you can see, there is a sediment. I can quite happily take that sediment and grow it up so that I can make myself a big batch of yeast, so I can pitch it and I can get a Old Rosie flavour into my turbo ciders, because quite honestly apple juice, sugar and yeast is a bit bland, so you need something to make it a little bit more flavoursome. Now, I find that the yeast captured from this is quite good, better than the yeast from here. However, if you use one of these in your turbo ciders, the yeast that is created and falls to the base can be used for your next brew. Now that's what I'm going to do. I previously made a pear cider, or a perry as it were, and the yeast in the base of that particular brew is going to be used as the yeast for this brew. There is other yeasts. This here is a vial of, this is Essex owl yeast. Not something I will use in cider, but as you can see, the yeast is at the bottom. It's kept within a solution of, I think it's malt extract, very low gravity malt extract. I keep them in the fridge. These are absolutely fantastic. Nice bready fruit flavour it adds to my beers. Not tried it with a cider. I think this is too expensive to waste. However, what you can do with this is take a small amount of that yeast and grow it up. You don't have to throw the whole lot in. The idea is that it's live, it's living, you grow it, you build on it. That does involve a little bit of extra equipment, but that's the fun of brewing. But turbo cider, turbo quick cider, it's got apples. We're going to try and do that today. Very quick, very simple, so I'll show you my recipe right now. Apple juice, as I said, 12 of those. If you're making a demijohn's worth, you need to quarter all of these recipes. So make sure that when you do buy the apple juice, pick up the apple juice. It's not apple juice drink. Make sure it says on the side, made from concentrate 100%. Otherwise you'll be quite disappointed, because the apple juice drink is a diluted version of this. And they're generally right next to each other and the cartons look very similar. The sugar will be going in with the acid, the citric acid in my case. If you don't have citric acid, you can use lemon juice, you can use limes, and you can use lemons. You can actually use vinegar. I'd go for the white vinegar if you're going to use vinegar, but I'll stick with the citric acid. You can follow along if you wish. Honey, the honey is cheap as cheerful, clear honey, 340 grams, so if you want to divvy that down into a quart batch, by all means go off and do the math. Pectolase, I'm pretty sure you keep that with a teaspoon anyway. And the last one is the caramel. I'm guessing if you do use this caramel, if you decide to make a dessert apple, toffee apple, whatever we decide to call this turbo cider, I don't think there's a lot of point using half measures. It may well be that you just get a more intense flavour. In fact, it's probably going to be a better flavour than my batch because obviously the dilutions. So that's pretty much all you need. I'm only going to apologise for the music being so loud because, well, it's finished now, thankfully. Now, I didn't actually say why we was going to use caramel. Caramel is going to impart a wonderful flavour in there. There is a sachet of caramel, which is a sauce, which will give it some colour and a bit of taste. But more to the point, the actual creme caramel, which is in here, I'm not going to use milk because that would be very foolish, has sugar in it. Sugar's good within our brew. And gelling agent. Gelling agent in this particular item is carrageenan. Carrageenan is Irish moss. Irish moss is used in the brewing industry in the boil stage of making beer to coagulate any of the proteins. So when you finish the boil and then you cool the wort down, it will then settle and hopefully give you a clearer beer. I'm not guessing that this is going to be the case in here because we're not boiling. However, it's not going to do any harm. So just to clarify, don't use the milk. This is going in there purely for a bit of extra taste. Let's give it a go.